Hi everybody, Dan Illman here with some exciting news. DRF Formulator, the gold standard in past performance information, is now free exclusively on DRF Bets. Join DRF Bets with the promo code WINNING, get a $250 first deposit match bonus, a $10 free bet, and free Formulator already uploaded to your account. Access Formulator's premium features including sortable trainer stats, race replays, personalized trip notes, and lots more. Free Formulator exclusively on DRF Bets. Dan Illman, Mike Beer, 2 stakes races at Aqueduct on Saturday. This one on the turf, race number 9, a mile and a 16th on the inner. It's the Woodhaven 3-year-olds. $100,000 is the purse. Let's take a look at this field. Now, it may not be the biggest field in the world, Mike, but I think you can make a case for every horse in this race.
Yeah, it's a pretty interesting field. You're right about that. I don't see anybody being too short a price. I suppose that 6 there, unanimous consent, who's 2 for 2 for Chad Brown. I guess he could take a lot of money. He's really not supposed to, though. It's a very well-matched field to this point.
But then again, 2 for 2, Chad Brown, that's often enough to make him get hammered at the windows, especially in New York. We'll throw up the Timeform US pace projector. I agree with Timeform US that the 3 Chanceux, the 5 Dr. Jeff, they're going to be forwardly placed. I do think Dr. Jeff is faster. I do think Dr. Jeff is going to make the lead. And I do think there's a chance this pace heats up.
Yeah, I sort of felt the same way. I mean, I do feel like both the 3 and the 5 are going in here. In some ways, that's probably an advantage for the one Heaven Street, who's just very tactical. But we'll see. I felt like the pace was going to be solid in here, and it was going to give everybody a chance.
Now, Heaven Street 2 starts back in the Grade 2 Bourbon when he drew a terrible outside post position. He was just placed on a send, and he went way too fast. And maybe we should take that 12th place finish with a grain of salt. He came back to the races in the Columbia, first time for Christophe Clement, and I like that he was able to show a bit of a rating gear. It could put him in good stead if this pace projector is correct, and he fits off of the speeds. Heaven Street sat just off the leaders here. He came with a 3-wide run. He turns into the stretch, Mike, like he's going to win by $1 million. Are you disappointed that he didn't finish off these horses, including this 93-to-1 shot Night Jumper, and won in more of a workmanlike fashion? Or it was his first start off the layoff and he did what he had to do?
Yeah, I'm not disappointed. I thought he won the race, fairly convincingly. It was a really good trip for him. I just felt like he sort of did what he had to do in there, and he was never really threatened at the end of that race. I thought he ran fine. And overall, his form is actually very good. It feels like there's another good trip coming from him in here. There's a lot to like about this horse. I don't think he holds any kind of edge over this field, and that's why I don't have him, necessarily anywhere in my picks. But he's a logical horse in this race.
Very logical. 9-2 seems fair. He might even drift a little bit with some other highly fancied horses, and he's going to get a trip, as Mike mentioned. I think the 2-0-2-0-3-5 is interesting. You could throw his last 2 races out. They ran him on synthetic last time out. They ran him on a sloppy dirt track the time before that. When he ran on turf 3 starts back in the Central Park, he was up close to a solid pace. A horse from far behind ran him down Side Dog, who's pretty sharp, and 0-2-0-3-5 ran just fine.
Yeah, I thought he ran great in that race. That was a really tough beat for this horse, who just did a lot of the hard work in there. Side Dog came from last and got him in there, but I thought he ran really well in that race. His Awad prior to that was a race where I just didn't feel like he got a great trip. I mean, it wasn't, one of those races you'll watch back and see all kinds of trouble, but I feel like he was just up against it from a lot of different perspectives in there. And prior to that, I just liked his overall form. I think this horse is a major player in this race, and he's probably going to be a fair price.
And another horse like Heaven Street that can sit back just off of the speeds and get the jump on the true closers. Chanceux is one of the speeds. He got in a duel 2 starts back at Sam Houston. He paid the price. That did not happen last time out at Gulfstream. They dropped him into an entry-level allowance race, and he made the lead, and he got very goofy on the second turn. Things were going swimmingly the first 6 furlongs. Then he started changing leads several times. He's going to change leads a couple of more times here on the stretch. This horse is still learning, and he's going to have to deal with some pace.
Yeah, we'll see if he can get a soft trip. He got a very soft trip on the lead in this race and took advantage. When he broke his maiden sprinting, he also just outran that field to the lead and never really faced a challenge. In between the 2 stake starts, I mean, I guess he didn't run terribly either time, Dan, but the Dania Beach, that was a super slow pace, and he still got run down for some reason in there. And the Texas Turf Mile, yeah, it was a closer's race. I still didn't think he ran that great. I don't know. As of this point right now, after only 5 starts, I just don't feel like this horse is that good, and I don't really want him in here, but maybe he'll take a step forward.
To me, the number 4, Fort Washington, just keeps getting better and better with each subsequent start for trainer Shug McGahee. I like the way he won at Aqueduct, his maiden race 2 starts back, because it seemed like he was a little bit green early. They tried to settle him down inside, and he pulled hard, and Jose Lozcano had to get him to the outside, and he looked like he was in some trouble when they turned into the stretch. It was about 6 lengths off the lead still, but he came with a good solid run and won. And he finished behind Heaven Street in his seasonal debut at Tampa. Heaven Street had a much better setup that day.
That's exactly how I looked at him too, Dan. I've liked this horse from the start. I thought he was really green in his career debut and just did well to make up ground. Like you, I thought he just ran, really, really well in his maiden win over this course last November. I think that was a really underrated performance. And last time, listen, they took him back off the pace there. He was the one who got forced very wide off the turn there, while the runner-up, who was also off the pace, got through on the inside and now finished him for second. I thought that was a really good place to start for this horse. I think there's a ton of potential here.
And a hot pace will certainly work to this horse's advantage. Dr. Jeff could provide the pace. This horse is very, very fast, and he's pretty good on turf, but I wonder about distance. Let's watch his last start, the Atlantic Beach at Belmont on November the 5th. This race only a 3/4 of a mile heat, and Mikey never gave him a chance. He just went right to the front and blitzed them on the lead. I think he is faster than Chanceux leaving the gate. I'm not sure whether he wants to go this far, especially if the pace is hot.
Yeah, agreed. I mean, he has a lot to prove in here. This is a visually impressive win where he just got complete control going 6 furlongs, and it wasn't a good field behind him either. I guess the flip side of that, Dan, would be his turf debut came in the Pilgrim, and he was last of 4 in there. But all 3 of the top 3 finishers, they were all really good horses. So maybe that mitigates it somewhat. I don't really know what to do with him. I don't really like any of his races, but I realize that if he can make the lead in here, he could be pretty dangerous.
Unanimous consent, the number 6, 2 for 2 for Chad Brown. He won his debut at Monmouth, and that was a race that has come back very live. Several next out winners, of course, unanimous consent, one of them. It also featured a very hot pace, and unanimous consent, I think, took advantage of that pace in the late stages. They ran him at Tampa Bay Downs, the race we're going to show you right now for his one and only start at 3. And unanimous consent was hard ridden on the second turn. It looked like he took a little bit of a bad step, maybe clipped heels entering the turn. He had some work to do, but once the jock got into him, he started kicking, and he kicked strong late.
Yeah, he's finished like this in both of his starts so far, Dan. So it does feel like this is a horse who could really turn out to be okay. The horse that he outfinished there, Ben's Malice, so they were sort of on even terms at the top of the stretch, and he just easily outfinished him. That's the horse who outfinished Fort Washington for second in the Columbia. That horse just got a perfect trip that day, though. I don't know. I feel like this horse is fine, and there's probably a lot of potential here. He's just a really short price on the morning line, and I'm not sure he deserves to be against this field.
Meseta completes the field for trainer Linda Rice. First start as a 3-year-old. The blinkers are going to come off. That was a one-race experiment on dirt. I think the dirt race was a one-race experiment as well. This horse is a turf horse. 2 starts back in the Central Park. He was still a little bit green, I thought. Very late to change leads. He was still in it in the 16th pole, and then he flattened out. I thought all in all, though, it was a good performance, his first start against Open Company. You could say, though, however, that 02035 ran just as well, if not better.
Yeah, maybe he did run better, but this horse ran a pretty good race in his own right in the Central Park because he was a little bit further away from the pace. He came wider to the stretch. And he was just bearing down on that horse down to about the 16th pole, and then he just couldn't finish it off, and he got a little tired. But that was a good performance. His maiden win was really impressive. If you go back and watch that, he made a big run and just ran away from that field through the stretch. His debut was just sort of typical Linda Rice stuff, man. She just gives her horses races first time out. This horse ran a lot better than it looks on paper first time out.
Before we get to our top selections for the Woodhaven, please click on the subscribe button on the Daily Racing Form YouTube channel. You'll have access to all of the DRF TV videos. Top pick time for the Woodhaven. I want a closer. You want a closer. I think this pace is going to be hot. I think Meseta is going to be a good price. Let's see how she classes up.
Yeah, and that horse has a layoff to overcome too, which worried me a little bit. But I do think that horse has some talent in here. I was torn between the 2 and the 4, Dan. I put Fort Washington on top in this race. I just feel like this horse has a lot of potential, and I think he's going to take a step forward in here.
He should be kicking on in the lane. A Warfront colt trained by Shig McGahee. 4271 for Mike, 7435 for me. It's the Woodhaven 2 stakes races at Aqueduct on Saturday. Best of luck.